After flying 6 hours from a war zone to surprise my fiancée with roses on our anniversary, I walked in just in time to hear her laughing. God, I wish he'd get shot this time. Her mother snorted. His day asterisk would be the best gift. That life insurance would make us rich. They toasted to my funeral, called me a walking ATM in camo, and mocked how pathetic I was for loving her. I just smiled, tossed the flowers in the trash, and walked away. That night, I started planning my revenge. 6 weeks later, they were both on their knees, sobbing, screaming through tears. All right, so I'm not really a story time guy, but I've been lurking here for years, and honestly, after what happened, I just need to get this out. I'm not looking for advice or sympathy. I just want to see if anyone else has ever had their whole life go sideways in a single afternoon. If you're into drama, buckle up, because this is the most real thing that's ever happened to me, and I still can't believe it's my life. So background. I'm Lawson, 29, and I've been with Michelle for almost 4 years. We met in a way that's honestly kinda embarrassing. There was this silent auction for a local animal rescue, and I accidentally outbid her on this ugly painting of a bulldog in a tutu. She came up to me after, all fake mad, and we ended up splitting a beer and laughing about how neither of us even liked the painting. We just didn't want to lose. I still have that painting, by the way. It's been hanging in our apartment for years, mostly as a joke, but also because it's the only thing we ever fought over that didn't end with someone slamming a door. Anyway, fast forward to this year. I've been away for a while, not going to get into details, but let's just say I was somewhere you don't go for the weather. I'd been gone for almost 2 months, and Michelle was acting weird. Not like cheating weird, just off. She'd text me, but it was always short, like she was distracted. She'd say she was tired or busy or her mom was over. I figured, whatever. She's stressed, I'm stressed, we'll get through it. I missed her, and I missed home. And I just wanted to do something nice for our anniversary. So I booked a flight back, didn't tell her. Figured I'd surprise her with some flowers and maybe dinner at that ramen place she likes. I even messaged her brother Alexander to make sure she'd be home that night. He just said, yeah, she's around, but he sounded weird too. I should have picked up on that, but I was too busy trying to find a decent bouquet at the airport that didn't look like it had been run over by a luggage cart. I land. I'm exhausted. I smell like recycled air and stress, but I'm excited. I get to our building, let myself in. She never asked for her key back, which I guess is funny now. And I'm already thinking about how I'm going to play it. Like, do I just walk in and yell surprise, or do I try to be all romantic and set the flowers on the table? I'm standing in the hallway, and I hear voices from the kitchen. Michelle and her mom, Lois. They're laughing, and I can't make out what they're saying at first, but then I hear my name. I know I shouldn't have listened, but you know how it is. You hear your name, you freeze. I'm standing there, holding these stupid flowers, and I hear Michelle say, God, I wish he'd just get shot this time, and Lois laughs, like really laughs, and says, his death would be the best gift, that life insurance would make us rich. Then, they clink their glasses and start talking about how I'm basically a walking ATM in camo, and how pathetic it is that I keep sending money home and buying them stuff. Michelle says something about how she can't believe I still think she loves me, and Lois says, well, at least he's good for something. I just stood there. I don't even know how long. I wasn't angry at first, just blank. Like, is this a joke? Are they drunk? But they keep going, and it's not a joke. They're just sitting there trashing me, like I'm not even a real person. I hear Lois say, you should have seen his face when you told him you missed him. And Michelle says, yeah, he's so easy, it's almost sad. I walked in. I didn't say anything at first, just put the flowers in the trash. Michelle's face went white. Lois just stared at me. I said, happy anniversary, I guess. And Michelle starts stammering like, oh my God, you're home. Why didn't you tell me? And Lois tries to act like nothing happened, asking if I want a drink. I just looked at them and said, I heard everything. You don't have to pretend. Michelle tries to grab my arm, but I pulled away. She says, you're overreacting. It was just a joke, and Lois says, don't be so sensitive. You know we love you. I laughed. Not because it was funny, but because it was so stupid. I said, you know what? Keep the apartment, keep the stuff, I'm done. Michelle starts crying. Lois gets mad and says I'm being dramatic, and I just walked out. She tried to follow me, but I shut the door behind me and kept walking. I ended up at a crappy hotel sitting on the bed with my phone blowing up. Michelle's texting me, calling me, leaving voicemails about how I misunderstood, how she's sorry, how it was just her mom being her mom. Lois sends me a text saying I'm ungrateful and that I should think about what I'm throwing away. I don't answer. I just sit there, staring at the wall, thinking about every time I paid their rent, every time I covered for Lois when she forgot her wallet, every time Michelle said she loved me and I believed her. I called my mom. She didn't say much, just asked if I was okay, told me to come home if I needed to. My dad got on the phone and said, "You don't owe anyone anything, son." That was it. I haven't told them the whole story yet, just that I'm not staying at the apartment. I keep thinking about that painting, the stupid bulldog in the tutu. It's still hanging in the living room, probably the only thing in that place that ever meant anything to me. I don't even care about the money, or the stuff, or the apartment. I just can't believe I let myself be that guy, the one who gets laughed at behind his back. I'm not going to let it go, though. I'm not just going to disappear and let them keep living off me. I'm not a doormat, and I'm not going to be their joke anymore. I started making a list. Every bill, every payment, every favor. I'm going to take it all back piece by piece. I don't care how long it takes. So yeah, that's where I'm at. If you've ever had your whole life blow up in your face, you know the feeling. I'm not looking for advice, just needed to get it out. I'll update if anything actually happens, but for now, I'm just making plans. And if you're reading this, Michelle, you should probably start packing. Update 1. So I didn't expect to be back here this soon, but honestly, the last week has been so nuts I feel like I'm living in a group chat where everyone's lost their mind. I thought maybe after I left, Michelle and Lois would just, I don't know, move on? But nah, it's like I set off a fire alarm in their little world, and now I'm the villain for not just rolling over and letting them keep everything. If you read my first post, you know the basics. If not, whatever. Just know I'm not the type to let people walk all over me. Not anymore. So first thing I did after that hotel night was just sit and make a list. Not a Dear Diary thing. Just a straight-up spreadsheet on my phone. Every bill, every payment, every time I bailed them out. Rent, groceries, Lois's phone, Michelle's car, even the dumb stuff like her Spotify and the streaming services she never watched but insisted on having. I started adding it up and honestly I got mad all over again. It's not even about the money, it's the principle. I was basically their personal ATM, and they didn't even bother to hide it. I called the landlord the next morning. The lease is in my name, so I gave notice. 30 days, that's it. I told him I'd be by to get my stuff and that Michelle and Lois would need to find somewhere else. He sounded awkward like he knew something was up, but he just said okay. And that was that. I texted Michelle to let her know and she blew up my phone. First it was all, "You can't do this, where will we go?" Then it turned into, "You're so selfish, I can't believe you'd leave us like this." Lois called me too, left a voicemail saying I was ruining their lives and that I'd regret it. I didn't answer. I just blocked her number. I went to the bank and froze the joint account. I'm the primary, so it was easy. I moved my direct deposit to a new account and canceled all the automatic payments from Michelle's car and Lois's phone. I left enough for the last month's rent and utilities, but that's it. I figured if they want to call me a walking ATM, they can see what it's like when the ATM is out of service. The next few days were just a blur of texts and calls. Michelle tried everything. Begging, guilt-tripping, even threatening to tell my parents I was abandoning her. I called my mom and told her the basics, just that things were over and I was moving out. She was quiet, but she said she understood. My dad, though, he was pissed. He called Michelle and told her she wasn't welcome at family stuff anymore. I didn't even know he had her number, but I guess parents have their ways. He's not the type to yell, but I could hear it in his voice when he told me later. He said, "You did the right thing. Don't let them drag you back in." I started packing up my stuff. I went to the apartment when I knew they'd be out, just to avoid drama. I took my clothes, my laptop, the bulldog painting, yeah, I know, but it's mine, and a few other things that actually belong to me. I left the furniture, the TV, all the kitchen stuff. I didn't want any of it. I just wanted out. I guess I thought it would feel good, but it was just weird. Like, I kept expecting Michelle to come home and start a fight, but she never did. I found a note on the counter, though. She wrote, "You're making a huge mistake. You'll regret this. You always do." I crumpled it up and tossed it. The weirdest part was how fast Lois turned on me. She used to be all fake nice, always asking if I wanted coffee or if I could help her with something. Now she was just straight up nasty. She texted me, "You're a coward. You're leaving us with nothing after everything we did for you." I didn't even bother replying. I just blocked her too. I started getting messages from random numbers like friends of Michelle's or people I barely knew, all saying I was being unfair or that I should at least give her more time. I guess she was telling everyone I just up and left with no warning. I didn't bother defending myself. If they wanted to believe her, fine. I know what happened. My parents offered to let me stay with them for a bit, but I got a short-term rental instead. I needed space. My mom dropped off some groceries and a few things from my old room, and she just hugged me and said, "You don't have to explain. Just take care of yourself." My dad didn't say much, just nodded and handed me a set of tools, like I was moving out for the first time again. It was awkward, but it helped. The thing that really got me, though, was when I started going through my bank statements. I found all these little charges. Stuff I never bought, places I never went. Turns out, Lois had been using my card for months. Just little things here and there. Coffee, takeout, even some online shopping. I called the bank and disputed what I could, but most of it was too old. I texted Michelle about it and she just said, Lois needed help, you know how she is. Like it was no big deal. I started making a list of everything I could take back. I canceled the streaming services, the gym membership, even the grocery delivery. I changed all my passwords and made sure nothing was linked to my accounts anymore. I know it sounds petty, but after what they said, I didn't care. I wanted them to feel it. I wanted them to know what it was like to have the rug pulled out from under you. The next time I went to the apartment, Michelle was there. She tried to stop me at the door, said I was being cruel, that I was ruining her life. I told her, you did this to yourself. She slapped me. Not hard, but enough to make her point. I just stared at her and kept packing. She slammed the bedroom door and started crying, loud enough for the neighbors to hear. I ignored her. I was done. Lois showed up while I was loading my car. She started yelling, saying I was a coward, that real men don't run away from their responsibilities. I told her, I'm not your son. I don't owe you anything. She tried to grab my arm, but I pulled away. She threw her purse at me and missed. I just got in my car and left. I got a text from Alexander that night. He's Michelle's brother, and we've always been cool, but not close. He said, hey, can we talk? I know some stuff you should probably hear. I didn't answer right away, but now I'm thinking maybe I should. If there's more to this, I want to know. So yeah, that's where I'm at. I've cut them off, taken back what I can, and I'm not looking back. I know they're scrambling, trying to figure out what to do now that the gravy train is over. Part of me feels bad, but mostly I just feel done. I'm not going to let them drag me down anymore. If you're still reading, thanks. I'll update if anything else happens. And if you're Michelle or Lois, good luck. You're going to need it. Update 2. So I guess I should have expected that nothing about this mess would be simple. I thought I was done after I packed my stuff and cut them off. But then Alexander texted me and honestly, I almost didn't answer. I figured he was just going to try to play peacemaker or guilt me into giving Michelle more time or whatever. But he kept texting. And finally, I just said, fine, let's meet up. Because at this point, I was tired of guessing and I wanted to know what he thought was so important. We met at this little coffee place near my rental. Nothing fancy, just somewhere you can sit and not get stared at. Alexander looked rough, like he hadn't slept. And he just kind of blurted out, I'm sorry, man, I should have said something sooner. I was like, about what? And he just started talking, not even looking at me, just dumping everything. He said he always thought the way Michelle and Lois treated me was messed up, but he didn't want to get in the middle. He said Lois has always been like that, always pushing Michelle to find someone who'd take care of her, always talking about money and security and how you can't trust people unless you're the one holding the cards. He told me that after I left, Lois started freaking out, not because she missed me, but because she realized the money was gone. Apparently, she'd been counting on me to keep paying for everything, and when I cut them off, she lost it. Michelle tried to act like she didn't care, but Alexander said she was panicking too, calling everyone she knew, trying to figure out how to pay rent and keep her car. He said he heard them fighting about it. Lois yelling that Michelle blew it, that she should have kept me happy until they had something better lined up. I just sat there listening, and honestly, it was like hearing about strangers. I knew they were using me, but I didn't realize it was that calculated. Then Alexander said something that really got me. He said Lois had been using my info to get deals and discounts. Even took out a small loan in my name for some business thing she was trying to start. I was like, are you serious? He said yeah. He found the paperwork in her room, and he thought I should know. I asked him why he was telling me now, and he just shrugged and said, I guess I'm tired of watching them screw people over. He said he didn't want anything from me, just thought I deserved to know. I left the coffee shop and just sat in my car for a while, trying to figure out what to do. I called the bank and checked my credit, and sure enough, there was a loan I never signed for. Not a huge amount, but enough to piss me off. I called the loan company and told them it wasn't me, and they said I'd have to file a dispute. I started making a list of everything Lois and Michelle had done, every time they used my name or my money for something I didn't agree to. I decided I wasn't just going to let this slide. I called Michelle and told her I wanted to meet, and she actually sounded relieved, like maybe she thought I was going to apologize or something. I told her to meet me at the apartment, and I texted Alexander to come too. I wanted him there, just in case. When I got to the apartment, Michelle was already there, sitting on the couch with her arms crossed. Lois was in the kitchen, pretending not to listen. I walked in and just laid it all out. Every bill, every payment, every time they used my card without asking, the loan, everything. Michelle tried to play dumb, said she didn't know about the loan, that Lois must have done it without telling her. Lois came out and started yelling, saying I was making a big deal out of nothing. that I owed them for all the times they took care of me. I just laughed and said, "You never took care of me. You just took." Alexander backed me up, said he saw the paperwork, that Lois had been bragging about how easy it was to get stuff in my name. Lois tried to slap him, but he stepped back and told her to stop acting like a child. Michelle started crying, saying she didn't know what else to do, that Lois was always telling her to ask me for more, that she was scared to say no. I told her, "You're an adult. You made your choices." She slammed the bedroom door and started yelling at Lois through the wall. I told them I was closing every account, canceling every payment, and that I'd be sending them a bill for everything they owed me. Lois started screaming, saying she'd call the cops, that I was harassing them. I just said, "Go ahead. I've got all the receipts." Alexander just shook his head and said, "You brought this on yourselves." I packed up the last of my stuff, took the bulldog painting, and left. My parents showed up to help me load the car. My mom was polite but cold to Michelle, just said, "I hope you figure things out." My dad didn't say a word to Lois, just glared at her and carried boxes out to the car. Michelle tried to stop me at the door, said I was ruining her life, that she had nowhere to go. I told her, "That's not my problem anymore." She tried to grab my arm, but I pulled away. She started crying again, but I just kept walking. When I got to my rental, I sat down and started writing out an itemized bill. Every dollar, every charge, every favor. I sent it to Michelle and Lois, told them I expected payment or I'd take them to small claims. I know they can't pay, but I want them to sweat. I want them to know I'm not just going to disappear. So yeah, that's where I'm at. I'm not done yet. I'm going to make sure they feel every bit of what they did to me. I'm not looking for advice, just wanted to let people know that sometimes standing up for yourself means making other people uncomfortable. And if you're reading this, Michelle, you might want to start looking for a new place to live. I'm not coming back. Final update. So I didn't think I'd be back with another update, but honestly, the last month and a half has been so wild. I feel like I'm living in a group chat that just keeps getting messier. If you've read the other parts, you know the basics. Michelle and Lois used me for years. I finally snapped, took everything back, and made sure they felt it. But I guess I underestimated just how much they'd unravel when the free ride ended. If you're here for a happy ending, you're in the wrong place. This is just what happened, no neat bow. The first weird thing was how quiet it got. After I sent that itemized bill and told them I'd take them to small claims, I expected a ton of drama. Instead, nothing. No calls, no texts, just radio silence. I figured maybe they were regrouping, or maybe they thought I was bluffing. I wasn't. I started the paperwork just in case and made sure every account was locked down. I even called the landlord again to double-check the move-out date. He said Michelle and Lois were still there, but they hadn't paid rent for the month. He sounded annoyed, like he was tired of the whole thing, but he said he'd handle it. I started getting random messages from people I barely knew. Old friends of Michelle's, some of Lois's business contacts, even a couple of neighbors, all of them asking if I knew what was going on, if I could help, if I'd heard from them. I just said, nope, haven't talked to them, and left it at that. I wasn't about to get dragged back in. My parents invited me over for dinner one night, and I almost didn't go, but my mom insisted. When I got there, she had made way too much food, like she always does when she's stressed. My dad just nodded at me and handed me a beer. It was awkward at first, but then we just started talking about normal stuff. Sports, the weather, some dumb meme my mom saw on Facebook. It felt weirdly normal, like I was finally getting my life back. Then, about a week later, I got a call from the landlord. He said Michelle and Lois had finally moved out, but they left the place a mess. He wanted to know if I was coming by to get anything else. I said no, just toss whatever's left. I didn't want any of it. He said, "You sure? There's a painting here. Looks like a dog in a tutu." I laughed and told him to keep it or throw it out. I was done. The next day, I got a text from Alexander. He said Michelle and Lois were staying with some distant cousin, but it wasn't going well. Apparently, Lois had tried to get money out of him too, and he kicked them out after a week. Alexander said he felt bad, but he wasn't getting involved. He just wanted to let me know they were struggling. I said thanks, but I didn't really care. I know that sounds cold, but after everything, I just couldn't bring myself to feel bad. Then out of nowhere, Michelle showed up at my parents' house. I wasn't there, but my mom called me after and said she and Lois had come by, crying and begging for help. My dad told them to leave, and my mom just closed the door. She said it was hard, but she wasn't going to let them guilt her into anything. I could tell she was upset, but she didn't say much else. I just said, "Thanks for having my back." The next week, I started getting emails from Lois, all caps, demanding I pay her back for emotional distress and threatening to tell everyone I was abusive. I just blocked her. I sent everything to a folder and ignored it. I figured if she wanted to make a scene, she could do it without me. The real kicker was when I got a letter from a collection agency about the loan Lois took out in my name. I called them, explained the situation, and sent them all the paperwork. It was a pain, but eventually they said they'd investigate. I don't know what'll happen with that, but at this point I'm just glad it's not my problem anymore. I heard from a neighbor that Michelle tried to get back with an old boyfriend, but he wanted nothing to do with her. Lois tried to start another business, but nobody would lend her money. They bounced around from couch to couch, burning every bridge they had. I guess when you treat people like ATM machines, eventually the money runs out. The last time I saw them was about a week ago. I was leaving my parents' place and they were sitting on the curb outside, crying. Lois was yelling at Michelle. Michelle was just staring at the ground. I walked past them, didn't say a word. Lois tried to grab my arm, but I shook her off. She started screaming, calling me a coward, saying I'd ruined their lives. I just kept walking. Michelle didn't even look up. So yeah, that's it. No big dramatic ending. No perfect justice, just two people who finally had to deal with the mess they made. I'm not going to pretend I feel sorry for them. I don't. I did what I had to do, and I'm not looking back. If you're reading this and you're in a similar spot, just know you don't have to let people walk all over you. You don't have to be the nice guy forever. Sometimes you have to be the one who slams the door and doesn't look back. I'm not a hero. I'm not a victim. I'm just a guy who finally got tired of being the punchline. And if Michelle or Lois ever read this, I hope you remember what it felt like to toast to my funeral. Because I'm still here, and you're not getting another cent from me.